All right. Good morning, people. So we're in our final week of summer school. So let's see what's going on. Well, we actually got a lot of stuff going on. So earlier on in the year, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit during the lessons some other times, and there are two really important things that just came up actually like since this morning. So yesterday I had some questions from mainly my second hour about some of these questions. So I did a little bit of digging and I went to go and find some answers. So one of the questions was, when is the last day to turn in packets? So I talked to my boss and tried to get this, but I haven't gotten an answer yet, but I've been talking to some of the other teachers and I guess I was right because we had a meeting on the 16th. I don't remember exactly what day that was, but I took notes. And I was right because it says that final grades are due on the 30th, which is tomorrow. So that will be the final day, final class will be tomorrow. So that is the last day that we can accept packets. So again, really important. That June 30th, and I don't know exactly what day, but I'm gonna say noon time because that's gonna be really tough to grade anything that's after that point because that's when the collection is done. So how are grades done? At this point, I haven't quite figured it out, but I might just go by packet, you know? So I might do something like how many packets are turned in and like if they're mostly full, just because the packets are really big and I'm expecting to get a lot of them in a very short amount of time. So I might break down grades pretty easily. You know, if you turn in all 4 packets, you get an A. If you turn in 3 packets, you get a B, 2 packets a C, and 1 packet a D or something like that. So I'm gonna try to make it easy on myself and because again, grades, we have to have them done and turned in quickly. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing because otherwise if I did like a complete itemized report, that would take a while. And in either way, I think as long as, if I really have to do like every single assignment graded, I think that would be, it would be roughly the same thing. It would turn out to be the same thing. So when will you know your grade would be the next question. And that would be, I'm guessing probably by Friday this week, if not. Now, I've also mentioned this before, but I looked through my videos and I don't think I have this one in there. So since today is going to be kind of like an announcement video, we'll go ahead and cover this one as well. So don't forget that you have 2 choices on how to improve your grade from summer school. So the first choice was grade replacement from summer school. So you take summer school, and if you do better in this class right now, that will replace your grade from the spring semester. So you didn't really do that great in spring, so maybe you want a better grade. That's what you're here in summer school for. So if you do really well, that will replace your grade, okay? And then the other one, and this is the one that doesn't require summer school or require finishing summer school, and that is a spring continuation. That's what I'm gonna call it. I don't know if that's what the name they actually called it is, but it sounds cool though. If you drop out of the summer school, or you know, if you don't turn in any packets now and you do not very good, you can also work with your spring teachers to improve your grades. And I think this goes into July as well. And I could give you a day, but I'm pretty sure they said it's going to be sometime in July, near the end of July actually. So you can still keep turning in your packets. Anything you got from the spring, turn it into your old teacher or turn it into the school, and we'll make sure that your teacher from the spring gets it. And we're gonna have kind of a day that we come back and grade all that. So if you have any other questions, we can go ahead and address them later. But today I think I'm gonna do one more lesson. I think that's gonna be it. I'm gonna try to go through it a little bit quickly, and then I'm gonna go ahead and explain the post-test, which is the other big thing that you're gonna have to do today. So if there's nothing else you get from today's lesson, okay, make sure you complete your post-test, preferably by today, okay? If you get it in by today, I can grade it and have it done and be worry free, because again, they want our grades tomorrow, and I don't know if they mean tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow 5 o'clock or whatever. I don't know. So let's be on the safe side, and let's do our pre-test today. So after this, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we're going to do it. I wasn't able to send out packets because even so, the packets, they take like a week to show up. And I know like the mail is just terrible and slow sometimes. And that was a big problem I had even at the beginning of this year, was packets not getting to students on time. So this time I emailed it out, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. So anyway, let's go ahead and go over congruent triangles. And this will be the last lesson that we're going to do just because of time. And I want to make sure that we have enough time for the post test. All right, so congruent triangles. Congruent triangles have the same shape and size. So in other words, they're basically the same kind of triangle. That means that they all have corresponding parts. Again, all length, sides, and angles would be the same, or as we say, congruent. So basically, we're trying to find ways to prove that some of these triangles are the same size and shape. So let's see, when writing triangles are congruent, we use a congruency statement. So that would be something like this. So I have two triangles, and they're not at all in the same direction orientation wise. They might even be a little bit different. Like for instance, you can see that this short side is on the right, and over here on the first triangle, this short side is on the left. So they don't have to be in the same direction. They don't have to be pointing in the same direction, and they can even be mirror images or flips of each other. And we would write it as triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. All right, so congruency statements have all corresponding angles and sides. So again, corresponding means the same. So it has to have the same angles and sides. So if we look at some of these, we can also see the angle marks, are, so in this case here, I'm going to call this one the small angle. I don't know if it's actually the smallest angle, but it's got one mark. That one's on the left, this one's on the right. So again, they're mirror images of each other. So they don't have to be exactly the same. They can be a different orientation or a different, or reflected of each other. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and move on. I'm gonna move down to here and talk about CPCTC. Okay, yeah, that sounds like something you'd find on the news, but basically it stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, that's a lot of stuff to cover. And that's how we know that two triangles are congruent. Then we know that each pair of corresponding parts are also congruent. So, list all congruent angles and sides given by the congruency statement. So, JKL and triangle PQR. So how would we tell that they are the same? Okay, so what are the important things that we need to know from here? So if we look at angle, okay, now in this case for these triangles, it does matter what order they are written in. So like in this case, J is the first one. P is the first part mentioned in the second triangle. So angle J and angle P would have to be congruent. Angle K and Q, so those are the middle letters, so K, Q, so those are the middle points. They also have to be the same, and L and R are each the last of their respective triangles, so that would mean that those two would have to be the same as well. And this also applies for the sides as well. So for the sides, JK, so those are the first two letters of each triangle, and PQ, so that's the second letter of that triangle. So each of these are the first two letters of each of their triangle. And then looking at here, we have KLQR. So KL are the second two, and QR are the second two on the other triangle. So again, they're both in the same order. And we're going to do a skip here, so go from J to L. So those are the ends, right? So J is the first, L is the last. And the same is true with the other sides triangle, P and R. P and R are the opposite sides. So one is, they're at the ends, they're excluding the middle part. So those two have to be the same. So make sure you get that when you are working on these, that you make sure you put them in the same order. So write another valid congruency statement. So we could also say that triangle KJL, so they're just moving the points. So K, J, L. So middle, left, right. And then here, Q, P, R, middle, left, right. And remember, these are triangles. It doesn't matter, you know, you can start going this way to a triangle, or you can go back the other way. You can start from one point, or you could start from another point. So as long as they're in the same order, that's the important thing. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to number 2. So WXY triangle is congruent to triangle EFG. So again, first 2 points, WE, those have to be congruent. Both angles have to be the same. Middle, X and F, those are each gonna match because they're both the middle of their own triangle. Y and G, last and first, last of each triangle here. And again, the combination of sides must also be the same. So side WX, so the first 2, EF, those are the first 2 points of that triangle. XY, so XY are the second 2, FG are the second 2 of this triangle. So they're each the second points of both triangles. And then in Y, here we have Y and W. So again, that one has a skip because again, it would basically be like, you know, going around and getting the third side of that triangle. So Y and W, E and G. So those are the ends of each of their triangle. So we got to make sure each of the 3 sides are named and don't repeat themselves, because that's probably one of the biggest things that I can imagine going wrong with this exercise is that students might end up repeating one of them. So like an example would be something like YX and GF, you know, as one of these other points, but you can't name that one because you've already had that side named. Okay, so let's go ahead and move down to this part here. So I'm gonna have to scroll down a little bit. So given triangle KPM and AYC are congruent, complete each of the following statements. So KM, right, the long side, and in this case it's great because we have a scalene triangle where we can obviously see that all 3 sides are different in length. So KM, which one is the other one that matches that side on the other triangle? So in this case, it's AC, right? So that's that long side there. And again, they're pointing in different directions. If we look at the pointy side, or maybe the base, which actually KM and CA would be the base. This one's base is upwards and this one's base is kind of downwards, but neither of them are horizontal to the ground. So they're a little bit different. So let's go ahead and keep going with that. So CY, in this case here, that's the short side. So the shortest side of each triangle. So if we look at the short side of each one and look at the other one's short side, let's see what we're working with. We would have MP, right? That's the short side of the first one. And the next one would be PK, which is kind of that medium side. Of the triangle. So we got to make sure the medium side goes to the medium side, and you know, short side to short side, long side to long side, as best as we can. All right, so angle Y. So let's look at angle Y. So that's the obtuse part. So we kind of have to label them. All right, we got to make sure that we're talking about the same one in each one. So in this case, I'm going to call this the obtuse angle because that one is, well, the obtuse angle. So angle Y and angle P, those are both going to be the widest parts. Here I have K and A, so that's the smallest angle, and you can see it's kind of like really pointy, really narrow point. So we got to make sure that if that's K, then we have to get the narrow point off of this side here. Now, don't forget that angles can also be named with 3 points. So that'd be ACY. So let's go and look at ACY. So in this case, we're talking about C, which we could call that our medium-sized angle because we have a really big one and we have a really pointy one. So the medium one here, and that's what they're talking about. So we got to go to the other triangle and look for that medium-sized point. So in this case, that would be M. Right, so M, so we got to make sure we start from the same one. A is the pointy, medium, large. So pointy, medium, large angle. So we got to follow that same thing. So we can't put PMK because we have to follow the exact same order. So it would have to be KMP. So again, the other way is not going to work out. All right, MPK. So in this case here, they're talking about they're talking about the whole triangle. So MPK. So medium, wide angle, narrow angle, or we can call it big and then small. So when we trace the other one, we're going to have to start the same way. Medium, wide, narrow, right? So that's going to be CYA. So we got to make sure to trace the exact same paths in both triangles. And let's see, let's trace this triangle YAC. So YAC. So it goes from large, small, medium. So we got to make sure we follow that same large, small, medium. Almost went the wrong way there on that one. Large, small, medium. Yeah, that's the right one. So PKM. All right, so like I said, I'm going to kind of make this one not too long. So we only have one more page, and then I'm going to go over the post-test. So hopefully you had enough time to write some of these down. I'll do the usual and give you a few minutes to do this one. We'll go over it. And again, this will probably be the last lesson of the course. So I'll say 2.5 minutes. I think the first ones are pretty easy to do because it's just, well, you're just filling in some stuff. 6, 7, and well, you can't really see 8, but those do have a little bit of writing. So actually I'm gonna move down in 2 minutes. I think 2 minutes should be enough to get even up to 7. Then I'll scroll down for maybe another minute. Well, it depends on how much work there is showing. So we'll get into that. Actually, you know what? I did get an email alert earlier, so let me see what we have. Oh, just junk mail mainly. What the heck? Okay, I see it. Let me. What's going on? Okay. All right, it's been about 2 minutes. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. I don't know, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit more. Okay, that last one. Okay, I'll park it here for about 1.5 minutes. I mean, I don't know, let's see, 8 and 9, there's a bit of writing, but really not as much as 6 and 7. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go back up and we'll go over this. And then if you haven't got it, that's okay. We'll go over it now. So let's see, given triangle STW. So again, make sure you trace it, STW. Now that's not a right angle because I can see that it's 82 degrees, but I'm gonna kind of call it the right looking angle maybe. So S is the, well, I'll call that the medium because this one, the T looks like it's the pointiest. This one looks like it's almost right. And this one here is 67, so that's going to be like medium. So it goes from medium, large, pointy. So medium, large, small. So if I trace the other one, BFN, it should go the same way. Medium, small, large. So if we have to fill in the missing angles, well, we know that each of these are corresponding. And if you could imagine, well, like taking one of those triangles and turning it, well, you could probably get them to match perfectly, you know. So if we take, because I want to take this triangle here and turn it like 180 degrees or all the way around so that it's facing this way, that would make it so that both triangles are facing the same direction, and thus would be very easy to trace and look at the sides. So I'm pretty sure that's the exercise. That's what they're trying to make you learn, is that you would have to turn some of these. So like for instance, okay, so BN. So we want to know this side's short side. Well, how do we figure that out? Well, let's look at the short side of the other one, and it tells us that they're congruent. So we should be able to say, okay, well, BN is 9 centimeters because that's the length of the short side. And let's see, part B is 14 centimeters. So let's see, TW. So TW is the long side of this one. Well, not the long side. Well, I mean, we would call that the longer leg, because if you remember, the longest side would almost be the hypotenuse, which actually this is not a right triangle. So I guess I should call that the medium side. So we know that the medium side from this triangle is 14 centimeters. So that's going to be how long this one is up here. BF, so here we have BF, which again, I'm going to call this the longest side because I can't say the H word. So called it the longest side. So let's look at the longest side on the other one. So that would be 17 centimeter. And then the angles would be the same way too. So look at the angles and see which one, again, large, small, and medium side. So angle W, so W is this, I'm going to call that the largest angle. So we got to look at the largest angle from this one. That would be 82 degrees. All right, so that makes sense because these two angles would be the same because again, we already know that these entire triangles are all the same. And then angle B, which is going to be up here, that's going to be the medium. Okay, almost, that would be the medium one. So that would be 67 because if we look at the medium from this one, that would be 67 degrees. All right, now angle F. So let's look where F is. Okay, so F is right here. That's going to be the pointy end, the small angle. So look at the other ones, small angle. Well, there's nothing there, so we're not able to figure that out. But we're going to use something that we learned from the other lesson, from the previous lesson, and that is those angles must add up to 180 degrees. So, and there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could start off with 180 and then minus the numbers you do know. So if I take away 82, I would have 98. And then I'd have to take away the other angle that we know, which is 67. And that would give us 31. So that's kind of an easy way of doing that, a faster way, I should say. But sometimes you still got to do them the long way with the algebra. Sorry, that word just sort of skipped my mind just there. Sometimes you got to set the whole thing up and work the whole thing. Anyway, so there we go. That's the first one. Let's go ahead and move on to number 5. So for number 5, same thing. We got to make sure that we have both triangles the same way. Now this one might be easy or tricky because if we look at it, we're looking at isosceles triangles, right? So this one tells us in the directions, it says that given GHJ and XYZ are congruent. All right, so it's telling us they're congruent. So we got to find each missing measure. So again, go through the list. First one is GJ. So that's this bottom edge down here. So look at the, well, in this case, it's the smallest side. And it's the only side that is not the same as the other. So that would be 18. And in this case, it looks like it's feet. So yeah, let's put feet in there. Now, the good thing about an isosceles is that, well, in this one here, it's telling us it's an isosceles. Remember, those marks are there to tell us that those two sides are congruent. So either side we're looking at, as long as it's not the small side, is going to be the same. So XY is also 27 feet, and ZY is also 27. And by continuation, HJ is also going to be 27. So all of the matching paired sides will be 27 feet. All right, so that makes it a little bit easier. Let's look at the next one here. So we have 3 angles in each one. So it looks like we're looking at H, which is this pointy end up here. So if we look at the pointy end of the other one, again, we know they're the same. That would mean that it would match up here as well. So that would also be 38. Now, if it's 38, what are these two bottom sides going to be? Well, we only have one side, right? Don't we need at least 2? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write this one out because this one actually does require a little bit of kind of knowing stuff. And that would be, so remember that we have 3 sides, and I'm just going to call them A, B, and C, and they must add up to 180 degrees. I know that one of them is 38 degrees. But how did we find these other 2? Remember that on an isosceles triangle, both of your base angles will be the same. So if they're the same, we can call it something else. I'm going to call it X. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to call it X because we already have a corner X. I'm going to call it P. I don't know. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. Now, if that is the angle P in measure, the other side would also be P. So that'd be P plus P equals 180 because we know that they have to match. So I'm going to go ahead and minus 38 from both sides. So that's 180 minus 38. And it's going to be 142 right here. And then I'm going to put the 2 variables together. So we just have double that number. And then from here, we're going to do our algebra and we're going to divide it by 2. So we have 142 divided by 2, and that would be 71 degrees. And that's for each of those sides because, again, they are matching angle base pairs. All right, moving down. I think we're ready to, I'm going to move it down just a little bit. Oh, no. Okay, well, I'll probably have to come back to that. Let's go ahead and move down and clear this up here. And I think we got that one done, so I'm going to go ahead and move it down here so that way we can at least see all the leftover stuff here. Let's see what we got. So given we have these 2 triangles, again, UVW, UVW and TSR. Find the values of X, Y, and Z. All right, so what we're gonna have to do is kind of do some side matching. So the first thing they want is X, Y, and Z. So let's look for X first. Where is X? X is gonna be right here. And which one matches? Now we can also look at the diagram. So UV are the first 2, because in this case, it's kind of hard to tell which way the triangle is facing. But remember, when you write them, the order will be the same when it's listed out. And you got to make sure to do that too if you're naming these triangles. So TS would be the one you're looking for. So that would be that one. So TS and this one have to match. And it looks like if you were to rotate one of these triangles, they would not match. They would be mirror images. Okay, they'd be like your hands, right? They look the same, but actually their thumbs are on the wrong side if you were trying to get them to match. Right? If you had matching hands, both your hands would have thumbs on the same side. But it's a reflection, so it looks the same, but it's backwards. All right, so setting it up, just put those two together, 53 and then 12x minus 7. And in this case here, I'm going to kind of skip the algebra explanations just because. All right, but again, this is just some basic algebra going on here, and that's how we're able to do it. I'm going to kind of do more of the stuff that's specific to this lesson. So let's look at the next one here. So, the next one they want to know is y. So let's look for y. So y is right here, and that's rs. Now we already know that those two sides, this one and this one, matched. So looking at it, or again, we can go back to the diagram, rs, or in this case, those are the second two. So the second two from this one must be the ones we're looking for. So VW. And again, this one's kind of a tricky one because, well, it's kind of hard to tell because of the way they're oriented, and you kind of do have to use a little bit of your imagination and think, okay, well, if these were rotated, then which direction would they be facing, or similar questions to that. But anyway, they set those two sides together, 57 and 5y minus 33. Did the algebra, solved that problem for y, and now we know that y is equal to 18. And this only leaves us with one last step, and that would be to get the z. So to get the z, well, that's pretty easy because it's the only side we have not used yet. And I guess, you know, I could just color code this triangle. That way it'd be a little bit easier to do. In fact, actually, I'm going to do that for the next one as well. So anyway, I can see that z is this green side, or I'm sorry, the blue side here. So that blue side would be 3z plus 14 equals 50. So plug that in, equals 50. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And like I said, I started a bit late, so I want to make sure I keep with the schedule. So I'm going to have to kind of speed this up a little bit. And okay, I know it's kind of bad because I know some people need maybe more help in algebra, you know, solving these things. But again, I'm trying to stick with what's specific to this one. So let's go ahead and do the first one. So values of x, y, and z. All right, so I'm going to just keep the colors I have, not from the last one. I'm going to start with just the color I already have, which is green. So green will be x. So let's look for x. Where is x? Right here. Oh gosh. So that's the wide angle, and that would be this one here. Since we're talking about angles, it's going to be a little bit different. So H and N are the middle ones. So P and C are the first ones. So P and C. And then the last one, F and S. So circle F and S. And I'm color coding them so that they're much easier to spot. Now, if I were to take one of these triangles, let's say this one here, and now we're going to rotate it, I could rotate it so that way they could both be the same, and actually, you know, they would have the same color on the same side. So to find x, start with our first one, which was green, we need the 6x minus 29 equals 115. So set that up, solve for x, you get 24. Y, so look for your y, and again, this is the very narrow pointy side, the low angle, and that one would match to S, which actually in this case here, it doesn't look like we have anything. So what I'm thinking you would need to do, we know that there's a 115 and a 36. 115 is that wide angle down here. So take what you know, and it looks like we're given the other angle, 36. So the one we don't know is that angle, and I'm going to name it the name because now we know what angle we're looking for. In this case, that would be S. We don't know S. So 115 plus 36, and that would be 151. And then I'm going to have to subtract that from 180, and S equals 29. So now I know that S is equal to 29, and I can fill that in the diagram if I want. So now I can set it equal to 3y minus 1. So again, those are the blue angles in this case here. So make sure you set those two angles together. And if you're not color coding them, at least make sure that they are both the smallest angle. Okay, so again, smallest to smallest, largest to largest, and medium to medium. Okay, that one was probably the only tricky one, because if I look at Z, well, let's see what Z is. So Z side would be this one right here. So that's the red side that I color coded red. And that one's easy because I can see that 36 degrees is the red on this side. So take 4Z minus 32 and set that equal to the 36 that they gave us over here. Solve that out and we get our solution for that one. So again, now we have our X, Y, and Z. All right, so last two. So this one here, it looks like there's no picture. So we got to make sure that we keep the sides the same. So triangle DEF is congruent to triangle JKL. Okay, so let's see. DE is 18, EF is 23, DF is 9x minus 23, JL is 7x minus 11, and JK is 3y minus 21. Okay, so that's a lot of information. It's a lot of information that we have to watch out for. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to color code it. So it says to find the values of x and y. So in this case here, this is our x function. I'm sorry, we're not in functions. That's our x expression. So that's JL. So if we look at JL, that's the first and last from each of that group. So first and last, and that means that I would need to take the first and last from the other one as well. So this is DF, and it looks like it's written right here, DF and JL are equal in measure. So they take JL here, 7x minus 11, and then 9x minus 23. So we need the DF. In this case, DF is right there. So we set these two equal to each other and solve it. So again, it's just picking the sides. That's the main thing I want you to take from this, is picking which side it is. Okay, now for the next thing we need Y. So I know there's a lot of stuff. So in this case here, Y is this one right here, JK. And if we look at how they are, how they're ordered on the list, they are the first two. So we need the first two from this one, so DEF, and that's what it tells you right here. DE and JK are the same. So this means that we have JK, so let's go ahead and get DE. So DE is this one right here. So that means 3y minus 21 equals 18. Because again, if these were triangles, which we don't have them drawn, they would be in the same, direction, orientation, or anything like that. They would be congruent. We know that, okay? Because it's given. So plug those in, solve it, and that's how we get Y. Now it looks like in this last one here, it's talking about angles. No, it's still talking about sides. So I guess angles are a lot easier because you generally only have one angle. Actually, no, it is talking about angles. Okay, well, maybe this one's not as confusing as we think it might be. So triangle QRS and triangle MNP are congruent. So find the value of X and Y. So I'm gonna kind of go straight with what we're looking for. So X and Y, so I'm gonna go ahead and underline X. And in this case, it's M and P. So MP are the ends, so that means I need QS, right? Because I'm looking at both end letters, Q and S. So now I'm going to look for QS. Where is QS? Right here. So 2x plus 1 equals 15. Set it up, solve it. Okay, now let's look for Y. So I'm going to go ahead and change color of the marker. And let's see, how do we get Y? So I have Y right here, and that's the angle measure M. Now M is the first one in that group. Now in this case, we were talking about a side. Over here, we're talking about an angle. So I need the first letter from the other triangle, which is Q. So that's what it says right here. Angle M and angle Q are the same. So I have M. Now where is Q? Well, we don't have a Q. So how do we find Q? Okay, so Q is in triangle QRS. So we know S and we know R. We know that it's 84 and 32 degrees. So let's subtract those. So 180 minus 84 and then minus 32, and that would give us 64. So it didn't give us triangle Q, but it did give us what we need to find it out for ourselves. So we now know that angle Q would be 64 degrees. So we're going to drop that in here. And then 7y minus 4, that's the other side we were looking for. So make sure we drop that into the other side and solve it. So just, again, do your algebra, add 4 to both sides, divide both sides by 17, and that's it. Okay, we're a little bit over. We're going to go ahead and move into independent student learning. Oh, actually, there is one other thing that I wanted to go over. So let me go ahead and I am going to get that ready. And let's see if I can get this. I don't know if there's a way I could do this without okay, let me see if there's I'm just gonna I don't know if I can. Ooh. All right, well, let me just move down to, just move some of this out of the way. Well, I got it, I know what I can do. All right, there you go. I'm just gonna hide some information on the next screen. All right, so this morning I sent you an email that kind of looks like this. In fact, it does look exactly like this. It should, because this is the one I sent you. So, oopsie. So the thing that you need to do is open the document. All right, so it's going to look like this. I'm going to go ahead and open that right now. And I just wrote post test on it. So this is kind of the same test that you got earlier on in the year when we were working on the pre-test. It's pretty much the exact same thing. Now, it's 50 questions, and it's all multiple choice. So you do have the choices of A, B, C, or D, and stuff like that. Now, there won't be any help on this one because it is a test. Or maybe I'll be around to work on it. But then you only have, we don't have a whole lot of time. We only have about an hour and a half. I'm not going to have a second lesson. So maybe I guess we could go over some of these, but it wouldn't be like, what's the answer? It would be more like, what does this question mean? And some of this stuff we have not covered because, well, summer school is only a few days long, and we can't cover everything. Right, because we only covered the first few chapters of the whole thing. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this, I don't know if you would want to download it or not. You can just read it off the screen here, right? You can just look at this one, you know, which line is parallel to this thing here. So, well, actually I'm gonna have to do a little bit of working around these and seeing which one has the slope that I need. And then we're just gonna take that one and mark it down. Make sure you keep the number in order, so because sometimes you might have to skip some of these and go back to them, right? So first thing that I would recommend, this is what I would recommend, get a piece of paper, or if you don't have a piece of paper, you could probably also go to something like Notepad, because almost every single computer would probably have something that would allow you to write it. So first thing you're gonna need is your name. Well, that's my name. Make sure you put your first and last name on there. Just put post test, and you don't really need to write it in the exact same way I'm writing it. Just make sure you note that it is the post test, and then start numbering it. So 1, 2, and you probably don't even need the little dots either, okay? You could probably even just do that. And then just put your answers like A, B, C, D. But I would recommend that you do the whole thing, number it from 1 to 50 first. in case you need to go back. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, do that all the way to 50. This way, as you're working on the test, you can go ahead and fill it in. Now, again, this test is kind of important. This is your post-test, and I'm going to have to make it part of your grade just because it's a requirement. So have this done by today. You have about an hour and a half. You don't need to you don't need to finish it, okay? You don't need to finish it because I know you guys have a second hour that you need to go to. So get as far as you can. Do the ones you know first. Okay, that's probably another thing you can do. You don't have to go in order. Do the ones you know first. So if you look at number 9 and you were like, oh, okay, I know that one. Go ahead and just, whatever number or letter that's in there. Okay, fill that in. Get as far as you can and go to your second hour. But when you're done with your second hour, make sure that you finish it. Okay, because again, I really, really, really want these by today because I have no idea. They say grades are due tomorrow. But again, I don't know if that means tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow at the end of the day. I don't know. They didn't tell me. So be safe. Make sure it gets graded. And best idea is to have it done by today. Okay, so once you're done with that, you're going to grab that, copy it. Don't cut it because you might need to, in case the email doesn't go through. If you get an error or something, that's another thing you got to worry about. So make sure you keep a copy for yourself. Go back to the email. And then in my case, actually don't reply. Do not push the reply button. Okay, do not push that button. Go to new, get my email address. Okay, it should be on somewhere. Again, do not use reply because sometimes this email system that I'm using loses it. It doesn't happen very often, okay? But about 1 in 10 emails will get lost if you push reply. So again, do not hit reply. Paste your answers in there and just put post test on the thing, on the subject, okay? And then push send. And then you're done, that's it. So that's how you do the post test. And again, I didn't really do this as a packet just because I know the packets take a long time to get to students. And I didn't want any students to be like, mine got lost in the mail. I don't know what to do. Because if it's lost in the mail, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. We just have to sit and watch that grade go down. Okay, so I hope that answers all the question. And again, do not hit reply on that button. Write a new email and send that to me. All right, so that will be it for today. So I will go ahead and move into student independent learning, and you can stay online. Definitely, you should actually definitely stay online until we get to the end of first hour. Okay, so don't go anywhere.